right. The regular season has officially come to a close here. The 2023-24 season is over if you are not in the play-in tournament or the playoffs. So, Houston Rockets, nice try, maybe next year. Utah Jazz, nice try, maybe next year. Memphis Grizzlies, nice try. San Antonio, Portland, nice try. Detroit, Washington, Charlotte, Toronto, and Brooklyn. Honestly, good luck in it happening. Anyways, we wanted to go over the standings, the final standings here. That was something we talked about a lot. I know it's been a couple weeks since we recorded last. It's my fault. We're back though. Uh, the last couple weeks have been pretty crazy for the standings. A lot of teams were kind of teetering on the line of either making it into the play-in, not making it in, getting out of the play-in and straight up into the playoffs. Who was going to get the 1 seed in the West? Who was going to get the 2 seed in the East? It was really up in the air for, like, honestly, I would say like 60% of the league where they were going to end the season at. It was kind of just everyone was flying around the standings. So, wanted to go over that real quick. So let's just start off there with the Eastern Conference, winning the conference and coming out of the West or coming out of the East, Boston Celtics. To be expected, no one really was looking at it any different. They've just got that kind of a roster that kills in the regular season. You know, we've talked about it plenty before we started, and most other episodes that we talk about any team, most of the Celtics don't really care. Prove it in the playoffs. So Boston wins, but we'll see what happens there. First interesting pick. Milwaukee Bucks did not get the 2 seed. The New York Knicks snuck in. The New York Knicks snuck in with the record of 50-32. Last couple weeks, Mitchell Robinson and OG Anunoby have come back healthy, but Julius Randle is out for the season. So Knicks have ended on a pretty strong note, finishing things out on a 5-game win streak. That last game, I think, won against the Trailblazers in pretty crazy fashion. So typical Knicks game comes right down to the wire. And yeah, so Knicks sneak into the 2 seed. Interesting team. You and I are seemingly not that confident in them. What are your thoughts kind of on the Knicks at the 2 seed and potential noise they could make?
Definitely an interesting team. Yeah, I think it sucks that they're probably gonna have to end up either playing Philadelphia or Miami in round one, which is like, dang, that's a tough matchup for sure. But
Yeah.
I'm not the highest on them at the moment. Definitely think that this offseason will be huge for them. I think finally the Knicks might get their offseason that their fans have been raving about for 10 years now. I think they finally get a good offseason and they new pieces come their way that are pretty vital. But at the moment, definitely think they can make it out of this first round. Wouldn't be too surprised if they do beat a team like Miami, even though Miami, we all know they are come play postseason. It is what it is. They turn up, they overperform by a significant amount. But New York has looked good, like you said, to finish the year. Mitchell Robinson and OG Anunoby coming back, huge pieces coming back into the lineup, which
Yeah.
have actually fit pretty well so far. Not really too much time need to be gelled in, but definitely something that I could see them making it past to the second round. Definitely.
Yeah, and I think I forget what was Mitchell out with the wrist. Was that what he was out with?
Man,
I
I'd say
forget what he was
like
hurt with.
4 or 5 months. That's all I
Yeah,
remember. Yeah, it was a while. I don't remember exactly what it was.
neither do I. But OG was the elbow. So as far as like OG
Elbow
and
fluid?
Ananobi's play, yeah, he had like loose tissue or
Yeah.
loose cartilage in his elbow and got it removed. Baseball thing typically, but
Yes.
NBA, join the club, you know? No. But no, OG had that procedure done, which it's like an arthroscopic kind of surgery. James
Yeah.
Wiseman had it done in his knee. That's typically where NBA players get it. But I think for the Knicks, the bright side is you don't really have to worry about OG's defense. That like
No.
it's not a knee. It wasn't a like a hip. It was nothing lower extremities that would like really take OG Anunoby from being a good player to like a oof, you know, hopefully we could get something.
Yeah.
I think health wise, OG's perfectly fine. It's just I don't remember if it was left or right elbow, but OG is a right-handed shooter, if I'm not mistaken. So if it is a shooting elbow, that's really the only concern I would say to
Yeah.
worry about. But other than that, he should be fine. I do forget what Mitchell was hurt with. I think it was the wrist, if I'm not mistaken. Um,
Yeah. I don't remember either.
yeah, so hopefully it was nothing leg related because if that's the case, Then you kind of have to worry about how well is Mitchell going to perform in the playoffs? Is he going to be at game speed yet? I think he's been back for like a month, but
He's been back,
still,
yeah, he's been back for a
yeah,
bit.
it takes a while for guys to get into game form, longer than I think most people expect.
Agreed.
Especially when you're a big man, it does not come quickly. You're not like when you're a 6 foot point guard, getting back into game speed may take a couple games, but when you're 7 footer, it could take a month or two. So hopefully Mitchell is fully healthy because when that team is healthy, obviously I think and we talk about missing Julius Randle, but I think you and I would agree, like I don't think you're missing too
Yeah,
much there.
they could be better without him, man. Because you got to remember, DiVincenzo, Josh Hart, they ended on some pretty strong notes to finish out the year. DiVincenzo,
Yeah.
especially, he was phenomenal from like February on. He's
Yeah,
been killing
chucking
it.
threes
He
left and right, man. He's become an offensive player. So
looks good. He looks very good, and that's definitely something very valuable to come into the postseason with. So no, I have no questions about their depth. And then you remember they have Boyan still.
coming
So
off the bench, yeah, and
yeah, they
Alec
got
Burks, who
depth.
can get stuff done, had many great years with the Jazz. So
Exactly. So you never know what you got. They have a lot of depth there, and they definitely they could. I'm not gonna say they won't, but they could definitely be a team that might be a little dangerous if they luck out and they make it past first round. You either get Milwaukee, or
yeah,
you get the
Cleveland or
Pacers.
Orlando or
Yeah.
Pacers, yeah. So
So,
it's I like I like I like the Knicks, but I
me
think
too.
you're right in saying like the offseason I think is going to be more important than wherever they finish now. I
Agreed.
think if I'm the Knicks this offseason, I find a way to get off of Randall's contract and then I move off of Tom Thibodeau. I think it's time to modernize that offense and really start to bring them into the modern century as far as
Yeah.
offense is played because that's always their downfall. Is just
Yeah.
they play super hard with Tibbs. They always make games close, but a lot of the times offensively they're just not strong enough. So I think if you can bring in a coach that can lean more into that side of things, it's going to look better for them. And then again, getting off that Randall contract and bring in a player. I
Nice.
mean, look who's going to be a free agent. You got guys like Tobias Harris. I'm pretty sure he'll be a free agent.
Yeah.
You got
Yeah.
a few guys that could fill that power forward role and fit the roster a little bit better. That play smarter, play harder
Yeah.
than Randall. So I think this offseason is going to be more crucial than wherever they finish in the playoffs because you still got like what 3-4 years of Brunson left. Like, dude, you're
You know,
good.
Brunson's cheap too. You have
Yeah,
Brunson a
still.
very team friendly deal, so that is a huge positive for sure. But no, I'm with you on that. I definitely think this offseason, it is what it is. I keep seeing rumors. Paul George, he's a
Could happen.
pretty favorable Nick pick right now, which is kind of like okay. I don't know how I feel about Paul George on the Knicks, but would
Yeah.
not be opposed to it. It would be pretty interesting. And you know what? Those Knicks fans, man, they've been raving about this offseason for years. They deserve it.
They want, and we talked about it before at the trade deadline when they got OG and
Yeah,
everything. They don't need to go get another star.
no, they
They don't
don't.
need a star. I think that's where Knicks fans and the Knicks front office tends to just mess things up is they try and make that splash move when their roster just doesn't really need it. Like, frankly, you could probably slot in Boyan at the 4 or the 3
Yeah,
and then go get yourself a defensive minded 4 for the bench. You
yeah,
know, see if you can regain Bobby Portis or something. Obviously, if you saw that clip on Instagram today, the Bucks were thinking of swapping him for Grant
great.
Williams.
Yeah, which
So
is
obviously the Bucks aren't too opposed to getting off of Bobby Portis. So
yes,
I
yeah.
like the Knicks have a lot of pieces already, and they really don't need to make another splash move. I think this is an off season where you just fill out the roster a little bit better around Brunson, and just move off of Randall. I think it's time. I don't think Randall's really taking you anywhere. So
With you on that. He's not getting any better, definitely.
no, not getting any better, and he's only getting worse. And the lows of Julius Randle are some of the worst from any star in this league.
They're
So
pretty low. Yeah, they're pretty low.
yeah, so it's I think it's worth getting off of that. But yeah, 2 seed there for the New York Knicks, finishing at 50 and 32. And like I said, they lost the team they gained that spot from, which to everybody's surprise was the Milwaukee Bucks, who have
Yeah.
kind of just had in this fall from grace. They finished the season on a 2-game losing streak, ending the year under 50 wins, I think for the first time. And
A while.
yeah,
Dude, in a while, dude. I don't even know.
yeah,
One 50 wins.
49 and 33. And And Giannis is going to be out for the first game or two in the series. They've got against the Pacers. It's a struggle. It's a struggle for this Bucks team that just doesn't really defend well, offensively inconsistent. It's I don't know, man. I'm not really high on the Bucks. I could easily see them falling out first round. That does not surprise me at all. The Pacers, again, we talked about it before we started recording.
Yeah.
That Pacers don't defend either. So at that point,
Ooh,
it's just who's got a more potent offense. And I think the Pacers, as they've shown all season long, can just mop the floor with the Bucks offensively. So um, I honestly think it's going to be a pretty rugged off season there for Bucks fans because I'm personally anticipating a first round exit for them in pretty ugly fashion, I might add. So.
yeah, Giannis too. I've heard a few things coming from him that maybe Dame didn't secure his future there, which is like,
Oh no, no.
yeah,
Yeah. If I'm Giannis, I'm I mean, number one, I don't we get to a LeBron thing, and I don't want to, it's not a like a let's glaze hate LeBron, but like obviously we all remember that 2021 offseason where they bring in Russell Westbrook, and
yeah,
everyone was like, why? Rob Pelinka had that trade for Buddy Hield and Rashawn Holmes, who at the time was a very good backup center,
yes,
had that trade in the books with the Kings, and then LeBron vetoed it and said, "Get me Russell Westbrook." And we all were like, "For what? You dumbass!" Like, how are you the king and you can't see this shit is not gonna work? It was like it was obviously gonna fail.
yeah,
Um, I don't know if I forget. I can't remember if this was the same thing with Giannis. If Giannis was the one that was like, "Bring me Dame or I'm out" or something like that. Um, giving up Drew Holiday for Damian Lillard, I think, was just such a big mistake.
yeah. Grayson
Um,
Allen too, man, added to that, which
Obviously, and he just secured himself a 4 year, 70 something $1 million contract with the Suns after having the best season of his career. So
yeah,
the Suns lost depth, big time depth, and they lost their number one defender aside from Giannis and Drew Holiday. And like we said, Damian Lillard can get you some offense, but he's not really the best off the ball, and he's not really a defender, and he's honestly not the best playmaker either. So you've just limit yourself as a team. And like we said before we started recording, that roster just doesn't really have versatility. It just doesn't. They're not really good defensively. They don't really rebound that hot. They're okay shooting. They got a couple guys that can shoot,
yeah,
and they're a rugged team. I'm not really expecting much from them in these playoffs, and I could genuinely see them lose in five, maybe even four. It's just like like what are the feelings of that Bucks team? Do the Bucks even feel good as a team? Like again, ending on a 2 game losing streak, never fun to go into the playoffs on a losing streak. Um, and then on top of that, it's just they obviously know they're not playing well. They know that they're not where they should be. And again, we've said it plenty of times since the move for Doc Rivers happened. He's not a coach that's really gonna beat you with X's and O's. He's just not that kind of guy. So I don't
oh,
really know if the Bucks are gonna have anything to combat the Pacers. I mean, if Adrian Griffin didn't have anything, Doc Rivers sure as shit doesn't. So
yeah,
it I don't even know if the Bucks are in good spirits right now. And if that's the case, if they're going in not even angry, but just kind of like deflated, I could just see the Pacers like just dog walking them for 4 games. So
yeah, very
yeah,
fun.
I think it's rough for them. But moving on there, they got the Cavs and the Magic at the 4 and 5 seed. Both intriguing teams. They're going to be matched up in this first round. You and I seem to be leaning pretty favorably towards Orlando in this matchup, just
Yeah,
as far as physicality and
yeah,
size. Uh, Obviously, the Cleveland kind of imploded against the Knicks
yeah,
last season, and that showed a lot. Just when you face a more physical team as a smaller group than that Cavs team is, who even though they made those offseason upgrades of Max Strus and bringing in Georges Niang and a couple of those guys to kind of fill out their offense a little bit further and shooting and perimeter stuff.
yeah,
I think the Magic just favorably speaking, they look better. I think
yeah,
they're going to match up better. They could get inside. I don't think Mobley's going to be as big of a defensive factor. Same with Jared Allen. They've got bigs that can shoot. Like it's a tough matchup for Cleveland. And we've talked about, you've brought it up plenty of times, very high on Jalen Suggs, arguably the best perimeter defender as a guard in the league right now.
Yeah.
Um, just recency bias, but I think that seems to be true. I've seen him play against Steph Curry, and I'll tell you, that motherfucker does not slow down at all. He is very feisty. So I think the Magic kind of have that series. It's their series to lose, in my opinion. But you know, Cleveland, Donovan Mitchell is a very good playoff player.
Yes.
So it could be a Donovan Mitchell, magical performance.
They
So
could. Yeah, no, they also that, but they also have a lot of youth on Orlando's side, which can be a pro and a con, and
yeah,
definitely something that I think they'll have to play with a bit in Cleveland because yeah, at the moment I don't know. I don't know how that offseason looks if they get bounced again in the first round. Back-to-back years did they get swept last year or they won one game?
they won. I think it was a gentleman's sweep, if I'm not mistaken. I think it was 4-1.
I think you're right. I think you're right. And then yeah, that's just not a really good look, man. If
Yeah,
that is the case, then yeah, there's a lot of question marks in Cleveland for sure. But no, definitely a fun series. Like we mentioned, a lot of physicality from the Orlando side. Young stars over there. So it definitely it might be a coming out party, or it might be, hey, maybe next year you guys are super young, but we'll
yeah,
see. I think that's a very good, very, very fun series as well. Four and fives for the first round. Usually going to be the
both of
best.
them.
The
Yeah,
whole playoffs, or not the whole playoff, the first round is going to be 4 and 5 seed, most balanced, equal teams. In nowadays, looks like the 3 and 6 are pretty much the same thing nowadays too. But we'll see. I'm definitely very high on the Orlando team. I definitely think that when they run into the Celtics, if they do go that far, that might be the end of their run. Well, we'll see.
could be. Yeah,
But they also could be a team like, hey, they I don't know. They could be a very, very interesting dark horse candidate for the whole playoffs. I think
yeah.
I, I think we don't get that much media coverage, so not that many people really know just how good Paulo and Franz are. So hey, you never know. We'll see.
I think the other thing too is you brought up the youth for the Magic. I think the Magic are in a different spot than some other young teams because they lead into the defense. You know,
Definitely.
I sort of watch hockey still. Like the Sharks, they're rebuilding. Obviously,
Yeah.
we're both Bay Area for the most part as far as where we're from. So,
Yeah.
like the Sharks right now, their rebuild, they're heavily leaning into defense and really building out a tough, gritty defensive team. And when that's the mindset, like when you can start off and everybody's got the proper mindset to try and win games, like, okay, we're going to lean on our defense. Obviously, the Sharks kind of suck, so it's hard to use them as an example, but the Magic, I would say, are a successful example of like
Great.
when you lean into defense and everyone on that roster is like committed to being as great a defensive team as possible. Like anything can happen because you can like overpower offense, or you can like you can just sometimes not have it offensively, but if you can't
Yeah.
lean on your defense and know and be capable of defending at the highest level, it's tough, man. It's tough, and I think the Magic have the right mentality. So
Agreed.
even
No,
though I think the Celtics, like you said, are clearly like a overpowered starting five,
yeah.
don't be shocked if the Magic kind of lock them
Hey,
down.
I'm
It's a
just saying, I wouldn't be
Yeah,
too shocked if that. I think it would be a great series, and I think it would either go 6 or 7.
I think so too.
I personally think the Magic would give them a bit of they would give them fits. I'm just saying. I'm not saying that I personally think that Magic would full out beat Boston. I'm just saying if it were to happen and they were to play and they were to lose, don't be too surprised. I'm just saying
Yeah.
Boston when they
They
run into
match up well against them. I mean,
dude,
aside from
they got the size.
Porzingis, yeah,
Yeah,
Paolo on Jason Tatum, Franz on Jalen Brown. Like, I already like that. Jalen Suggs on Drew Holiday. That's fine. I like that.
yeah,
Like, Drew's stronger, but I think like Jalen Suggs has enough tenacity to kind of handle that and deal with that. Plus, Markel Fultz can swap in there as another strong defensive guard. Like
yeah,
Cole Anthony is going to cause some problems. The Magic have a lot of lineup versatility. Like Joe Ingles is still there, and Joe Ingles has been solid in
yeah.
the playoffs for the
Exactly.
Jazz.
Pretty good.
So I like their team, man. I like that Magic team, and I really don't think they're gonna have this like unceremonious exit, kind of like I expect the Bucks to.
Yeah.
They just the Magic have the right mentality, and for me that says a lot more than I think offense typically does. But
I agree with you. Yeah,
Um,
because I mean, I think they're in a win-win situation. You go to the playoffs, you
get
lose
that
the first round.
experience.
Sure,
Yeah.
you get experience. You win the first round, cool. You already blew everyone's expectations. You go to the
Yeah.
second round, you have a chance to upset Boston. I'm just saying, I think everyone thinks Boston's a superpower, which they're a great team in their own right. We obviously know this, but when they match up against defensive-oriented teams, they intend to blow up, dude. They
Yeah.
implode.
They're just not a very smart team. Yeah.
There's a bunch of idiots that are ball handlers on the Boston team. Maybe Drew can help combat that this year. Derek White, maybe.
But
I'm
that's
not
what we said is it's
that's
like
what we say,
if
man,
the
but
ball isn't in their
yeah,
hands, it doesn't matter. It was
it
the
doesn't
same with
matter.
Marcus Smart. It's like, cool. Marcus
Yeah,
Smart's a solid player, but it's like
right,
if the
yeah.
two guys with the highest usage rate are Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown,
The idiots are not.
then
Yeah.
yeah, it's like you're either going to get a prolific performance or it's going to look like it typically does in the playoffs where they get a good defender on them, they don't get to the free throw line, and they fall apart. They don't know what to do. So, um, Boston, it feels like a very glass house kind of a team. I'm not too too high on them.
Yeah.
Again, they have to prove it. This is the time where it's make or break for them as far as like, does anyone take this team seriously? They've got all the playoff experience, finals experience they could need.
Yes.
This isn't,
Yeah.
they are not lacking that. This is not like, okay, just get to the second round and then you've never been there before. So it's like
No,
they
this
have all the
is
experience
the big
necessary.
the
This is
final.
time to like put it all together.
Exactly.
And they've had more opportunities to do that than most teams do. So I think it really is a make or break moment for them. Granted, I don't think they're gonna like, ship anyone off or anything, but I just think
No,
past this, ain't nobody afraid of the Celtics. I think right now it's like, okay, that's a pretty filthy roster,
it is.
but
Yeah.
they still have to prove it. If they don't do anything this season, I think everyone's the
Whatever.
Celtics. Oh, who
Yeah.
cares, bro? Who cares? Like, they kind of feel like the Jazz from like 2018,
A
19,
bit.
2020, where it's like, okay, they're
Yeah.
finishing one, two,
One,
three seed, yeah,
yeah.
and then playoff time, it's like complete drop off. So
I'm with you on
yeah,
that. I'm not a big fan at the moment, but you never know. Maybe Tatum can.
yeah, this would be big for Tatum. This is, I would
Tatum.
say, like a make or break for Tatum being a genuine superstar. I think if Tatum crumbles again, then I don't even know if I want to consider him a superstar because he just wouldn't have been performing to where he should have been.
I'm with you,
Like,
man. I think this is his biggest playoff year so far. It needs to be shown this year, man. Like you can play in the playoffs. I mean, last year he had a few really good marquee performances. Obviously, the game 7 against Philly at 50.
yeah,
Few games against Miami after game 3. Few great games, but like you're saying, man, I need to see it because yeah, right now I'm not very high on them. I do think they must be an Eastern Conference Finals team at least minimum. Like you have
if they don't make it to the finals, I think
Good.
it's a
It's a
lost
break. It's a
season.
lost season. I agree. If you don't make the finals, it's the lost season. But if you don't make it to the Eastern Conference Finals, like, dude, you are just an embarrassment. Like,
Oh
it,
yeah, 100%.
yeah. Dude, yeah. There's no team this year that I'm like, the Bucks, they look weak. They might not even make it out the first round.
Yeah,
Philly, they put it together in time. They've had injuries.
yeah,
They've had a poor luck season. I give them that. I feel bad for them. They had a great season going and then injuries.
yeah.
But Miami, it's like, dude, they don't look like Miami right
They
now.
look rough, but
It was
it's you
rough, man.
just that's
Oh,
the difference.
dude.
As we talked about that, is it's like the difference between Boston and Miami is it's like I'm not giving Boston the benefit of the doubt for anything, but Miami deserves the benefit of the doubt because every year we're like, I don't know if it's this season, and then
Yeah,
they end up in in the Eastern Conference Finals or the finals, and it's like,
yeah.
okay, I gotta stop doubting them, even if they
Yeah.
look like shit right now. It's just whatever.
It
They
was-
they somehow find a way. So. And the best teams do though. The best
yeah,
teams do just find a way. So um I think I honestly feel better about Miami than I do the Celtics. So
times I
like
do too.
frankly, I just as far as like, playing smarter, playing harder, playing a better brand of basketball, I think Miami has that.
Yeah,
Boston is very much just in the, drive and kick era of like, all right, we're gonna have two guys who can get to the rim. They're gonna drive and kick a fucking ton
yeah,
and then hopefully they just make the right reads.
yeah.
And more times than not, they do not. And
Yeah,
they've been able to get away with it in the regular season because you've got guys like Porzingis to counter that, and then obviously still have Horford coming off the bench, and Pritchard's had a pretty good season.
yeah.
Like you've got some stuff, but I don't know if in the playoffs when defense ramps
What
up,
good is
foul
it?
calls go
Yeah.
away. It's gonna be tough, man. They are not getting any breaks. So
I
even in the East, which is kind of hilarious, but yeah.
with you on that one, man.
Yeah. We already talked about the Pacers. They're in the sixth seed, obviously, in that first round against the Bucks.
Yeah,
7 and 8. This is the first play-in game here we've got for the Eastern Conference. Philly and Miami.
yeah.
This is gonna be tough, man. Both teams, again, Joel obviously being there, like we said, to start. Philly is finishing this season on an 8 game
Oh
win
no,
streak.
oh no.
They're
Yeah,
killing it right now. They're catching fire at the right time.
yeah.
Obviously, their roster healthy. That
They're
they
not.
are healthy.
Yeah, they're not a
Yeah,
7 seed normally. I think they would have easily snuck into that 2 seed if Joel never had that MCL issue.
100%.
I feel bad for them. Yeah, because I think no doubt you look at this roster up and down, and you're like, hey, this team looks interesting. But then you watched it and you're like, this team looked really good with Joel, and it really worked around him perfectly. Tyrese
Yeah,
Maxey's numbers slipped a bit when Embiid left. And I mean,
that's
that's
to be expected. Tyrese is like the perfect. It's the same thing
great
with
too.
Jamal Murray.
Phenomenal too. Yes, phenomenal
Yeah,
moves, maybe not the best ones, and that's just how it goes.
no,
But hey, when they're together, they're a phenomenal duo. So I'm hoping they can beat this Miami team and then they can play the Knicks, and that's gonna be a great series. I think
that
that's a
is a great
very,
one.
very good series because like we mentioned, we like the Knicks a little bit. We're not saying they're completely frauds. We're not saying that, but
No,
at the same time, you're playing a team which would have been the 2 seed when healthy. So it's like, hey,
yeah,
this team is not a 7 seed normally. So I feel kind of bad for the Knicks almost because hey, they're running into a really, really good Philadelphia team when healthy. So
that's red hot.
yeah,
It's
exactly.
they're not
Exactly.
going in on like
Yeah.
a the Bucks kind of like ugh,
Not a
ugly.
four
No,
no. No, they're going
they're coming in red hot.
they're coming in pretty good. So for sure. And then yeah, and then Miami. I think Philly take care of the business. I think they take care of business in this
I
game.
think so too. I think Miami is going to get the 8 seed regardless,
Yeah.
because ultimately they're going to
Yeah.
like it would
The
not
Hawks,
shock me. Most likely, I'm thinking Philly beats Miami, gets the 7 seed. Miami faces either the Bulls or the Hawks, and I don't think Miami loses to either of them.
I would hope
So
not. Yeah, I would hope
yeah,
not.
it would take like a DeMar masterclass, or it would take a Trey Young who just came back
Yeah.
masterclass.
Yeah.
But
And they
both
lost
teams
by
are
40?
just, huh?
They lost by 40 in their last game?
Oh yeah, they got clapped by the
Yeah,
Pacers.
I saw that.
Absolutely clapped.
157 to 115 or something. Like they got
Yeah,
really down, dude. So
yeah.
that's a
Poor
really good
Miko.
goal for the Pacers to go into for sure. But the Hawks,
Yeah,
yeah, no, that playing games doesn't really move the needle for me. I think both are a one and done type
yeah.
of a
The Bulls and the Hawks honestly shouldn't even be there. Let's just be
yeah.
honest. They are
It
not
makes
good
you
enough to be in the playoffs.
it makes you wish the plan didn't exist almost, seeing teams like that.
Yeah, it's
But what a great story. But the East, man,
yeah.
it's like, do we really need this for the East, man? I mean, these guys are just you got two teams under 500 who are kind of just embarrassment.
Not only are they under 500, one of them is 10 games under 500.
Yeah, you
Uh,
got embarrassments to the NBA right there.
Mind you, the 9 and 10 seed in the West are the Kings and the
Yeah,
Warriors, and they're both
it might be the
46
five
and
seed in the
36.
West.
They're
Yeah,
10 games over 500.
they
So,
might be the 5 seed in the East if they were to be put there. So let's put
yeah.
that in perspective, man. The East is just kind of a joke still. I don't think that changes anytime soon.
And the West has 5 teams with 50 or more wins, and
Yes.
they have six. They have 6 and 7. The Suns and the Pelicans are at 49 wins. So we could have potentially had 7 50-win teams in the Western Conference this season.
Insane.
There is only 2 50+ win teams in the East, and that's the Knicks and the Celtics. The Bucks
Yeah.
obviously third seed, 49 wins. So it's night and day between the strength of each conference. So
Maybe just a little bit. Yeah.
yeah. Moving into the Western Conference here. So this is where the chaos started, and we made a video specifically on how this 1, 2, 3 could potentially go.
Yeah.
Obviously, the Nuggets, the Thunder, and the Timberwolves all been fighting and jarring for that first seed. The Nuggets late in the last few months really crept up after being like a potential 4 or 5 seed. Just
Yeah.
flew in on a super hot month of March. Flew into that 1 seed. But then the Thunder kind of came back with the punch of their own.
Yeah.
They got back into the 1 seed. The Minnesota caught fire. They got into the 1 seed. And it was just like every day it felt like the three were switching between each other.
Yeah.
And it finally shook out the way I did say. Now, I wasn't very confident in it, but I did say at one point that the Thunder were going to come out with the 1 seed. So
Yeah.
I will say this is absolutely like I am I called it. All right.
Yeah.
This is a very weak, kind of pathetic way to say that I called it, but I did call it at least once. So
Yeah.
I just want to, put that on my resume here. No, but Thunder coming out in the 1 seed, 57 and 25 to end it. They did tie record wise with the Denver Nuggets at 57 and
Tiebreaker.
25, but the Thunder are coming away with the 1 seed here, I think, based off of divisional performance, which
Division, they
they're
won
12 and
division.
4.
Yes,
Yeah.
they won division, and then they had the tiebreaker over the Nuggets, I believe. Also, they beat them to three.
Yeah.
So,
So
yeah, it came
Thunder
in.
1 seed, Denver 2. I I'm not too mad about it. I think again we're gonna get into the Western Conference play-in stuff here because that's where it really gets crazy.
That's
But
really
yeah,
yeah.
Minnesota slipping into the 3 seed. They got round one versus the Suns with the 6 seed. That's a
Tough,
tough matchup for
tough
both. They could
matchup.
honestly go either way.
Either way,
Again,
I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah,
yeah,
it's tough to say, man. I can't even predict that. I could see. I wouldn't be surprised if you told me the Suns win in five. I wouldn't be surprised if you told me the Timberwolves won in five. Like I really
yeah,
wouldn't. It just depends what Suns you're getting, and it depends will this Timberwolves offense catch some sort of heat because we know the defense it's going to be nasty. We know this. The defense is going to be unmatched come playoff time for the T Wolves, no doubt about it. But the
yeah.
offense, can it turn up? Can it have some life to it? I want to see it. But at the moment, I definitely think I would think the Timberwolves would be favored. But I wouldn't be surprised if you told me Phoenix beats the crap out of them. Hey, this Phoenix team is Kevin Durant, Devin Booker. Just saying, you never know with guys like that. That's all I gotta say.
Yeah, and I think the interesting thing too is with the Timberwolves, it's like their defense is elite, but they're
Yes,
probably facing the one team in basketball where it's like great defense on any
doesn't
given
matter.
night doesn't mean anything.
Yeah,
So Kevin
yeah,
Durant, Devin Booker,
yeah.
it just if they catch fire,
It
it
is what it
literally does not matter what you do. Like Kevin
is.
Durant's gonna get his, Devin Booker's gonna get his, and you're just gonna have to live with that. Um, but I think as far as the Timberwolves go, the defensive consistency will be there, and they're not going to stray from their game. Chris Finch has been a fantastic coach and might win Coach of the Year. Probably should, if not Mark Dagnall.
Yeah, either
Um,
or. Yeah.
yeah, and I think at that point, it's really up to again, like who's going to be the more consistent offensive team because again, like Kevin Durant, Devin Booker can do it, can just honestly light anyone up. And at that point, it's scary because there's nothing you can really do about it. And all they need to do is play some like sufficient defense.
Yeah.
And for the Timberwolves, no matter who they play, they've just been kind of a meh offense. Like they
Yeah.
shoot the three ball very well,
Very well. Yeah.
but they don't shoot a lot. And they're kind of a clogged up team. But that's the give and the take because they're trying to be as good defensively as possible. So it's going to be interesting. I'm not too sure, and I think the one thing on their side, on the Timberwolves side, is that if they really lean into Naz Reid, who's just a
Yeah.
fantastic shooter, that
Phenomenal.
could
Yeah.
potentially cause some problems
I
for
agree.
the Suns matchup wise. But I do like both teams in this, and like you said, yeah, it could go either way. I think that's the most like either way kind of thing we've got so
Yeah.
far. Um, and then, like you said, with the Eastern Conference, 4 or 5 seed here, Clippers with the 4, Dallas with the 5 seed. Dallas has ended on a fantastic note. They snuck all the way out from the 8 seed into the 5 seed.
Yeah.
Um,
Great end.
that's a really tough matchup, and you and I talked about it a bit. I think this is make or break for the Clippers.
I agree.
I
Yeah.
think this is their ultimately their last shot because this is going to require Kawhi and Paul George to give it their absolute all, and every bit of their energy is going to have to mainly go to defense,
Yeah.
and that's tough. That's tough. That Paul George is going to have to exert everything onto Luka, just like Kawhi and Kyrie, and you've got a guy like PJ Washington, who if you're going to throw the two best defenders you've got on Luka and them, well, PJ, who is no slouch, maybe not great per se, but
Yeah.
PJ can just end up lighting you up. Warriors have dealt with it. Many teams have gotten that where it's like, okay, PJ Washington has like 20 right now. This is
Yeah.
weird. And it's because if you're going to throw your best defenders on Luka and Kyrie,
Have
if
fun.
PJ's aggressive enough,
Yeah.
Luka and Kyrie are going to make the right reads. So they're going to find him. And if he has himself a couple nights, that's tough, man. That's tough.
Definitely.
And obviously, Daniel Gafford has really opened up the floor for them. Derek Lively defensively has helped them.
Yeah.
Granted, injury wise, you never know if he's going to be out or not. Um, I I think this is just make or break for the Clippers. That Dallas team is really tough, and they're gonna at least take them to 6, if
I would
not
imagine.
outright win the series in 6 or 7. And like you said, if you're the Thunder, you probably want to face Dallas over the Clippers. But if it goes 6 or 7, the Clippers, I would say, are who you guys would want to face, just because how much can Kawhi and Paul George give in this kind of in this situation for themselves? It's like, are we going to see another 2019 Kawhi performance? Are we going to see Paul George really dominate a playoff series once again, like he did many times before?
Yeah.
Like, it's going to require a lot.
I,
They're being asked a lot here against this Dallas team, which is just not going to make stuff easy for him. So
definitely.
yeah, talked about the Suns here. Now the Western Conference play-in. This is where the madness really happens, and I saw it on ESPN, so credit to them. They brought up that the Lakers, who are currently the 8th seed at 47-35, playing the Pelicans, who they just 20 balled in, I think, New Orleans
Yeah.
yesterday. Um, the Lakers have the Pelicans here. The suggestion or the rumor, I guess, or maybe like the hypothetical situation, so to speak, is that the Lakers might purposefully punt this game to try and get either the Kings or the Warriors in a game, which I think the Lakers in either situation are far more favored.
Yeah.
Um, obviously I know the Kings have kind of had the Lakers number for the last few seasons, but
It'd be fun.
still,
It'd be very.
LeBron in a make or break
Yeah.
situation,
I
I'm
agree.
taking him.
I know. I agree.
Um, but yeah, the suggestion is that the Lakers could potentially punt this game against the Pelicans, not play 80, not play LeBron, and just let the Pelicans end up taking the matchup against the Nuggets, who the Lakers just don't want to face.
I,
And then take that one-off game against the Kings and Warriors and hope for the best, and then take your chances against the Thunder, where the Lakers probably feel a lot more better in that matchup. Granted, I think everyone in the play-in tournament would rather face you guys than the Nuggets.
yeah. I
Not
would say
that you
so.
guys are like a bad team, but it's just
Yeah.
like
The
reigning
defending champ.
champs,
Yeah.
young team with no experience.
Yeah.
Who are you picking, right?
100%.
So, uh, interesting strategy stuff we may see from this Lakers
Yeah.
team. I think the Pelicans could do the same, but honestly, I think the Pelicans, it's like, look, man, we beat the Warriors having just an absolutely insane shooting night, and then the
Yeah.
very next game got the shit smacked out of us. So it's like, I don't know
50-50.
if the Pelicans want to make that gamble. They don't really have someone to lean on like LeBron James or Anthony Davis. So I take them trying to really win that game against the Lakers, obviously with home court as well.
Yeah.
And then 9-10 seed, you got the Warriors and Kings. And
Yeah.
I think the Warriors win that. I just think the Kings just don't have the
Got beat up.
firepower right now.
Yeah.
But
They got beat up.
um, yeah, but like we know, the Kings tend to just play well against the Warriors. Mike Brown knows what the Warriors want to do.
Yeah.
And there's some a little animosity from that Kings side, especially after last season in the playoffs. It would not shock me if the Kings try and really take it to the Warriors. So
Yeah.
they're gonna have to be ready for that. But if anything that the Warriors have shown versus the Kings is Steph Curry comes alive.
Yeah.
So
Most
that's
definitely.
that's big. But yeah, man, that's kind of what we've got for you.
Yeah.
Play-ins coming right up tomorrow,
Yeah.
and that's how everything's gonna shake up here. So we'll come back probably with some awards
Yeah.
predictions and stuff afterwards. But yeah, we'll let this play-in thing come out, and yeah, and we'll see you guys in the next episode. So if you like the video, leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Let us know your thoughts below. Dominic's channel, In the Moment Hoops, will be linked below, and yeah.